2025 is a pretty stacked year for films. So many exciting projects slated for release this year, yet none come even remotely close to my excitement for one film, Superman. Saying that I love Superman is a very gross understatement. The Man of Steel has been my fourth favorite superhero since I was a kid. I grew up watching things like Justice League Unlimited, Superman the movie, and even Smallville. However, while I have loved the character my whole life, growing up I always heard people say that they thought he was boring, overpowered, and things like that. And honestly, I feel like there's a good reason for that. To put it plainly, I think the 2010s were bad for Superman. Between things like Injustice, the Snyderverse, and inconsistent characterization in the comics, being a Superman fan during that time was not very fun. However, nowadays, it seems to be a different story. I believe we are currently in a Superman renaissance. Whether it's My Adventures with Superman being a fun, lighthearted cartoon for modern audiences, or Superman and Lois being a really good show that understands the core of the character and gives us one of the best on-screen Superman portrayals ever, or even the many great runs currently being released. Overall, being a Superman fan right now is pretty damn nice. And the cherry on top, James Gunn's Superman. I have been eagerly awaiting this movie since it first got announced. So naturally, when it released, I saw it opening night, and it was amazing. I'm gonna split this video into two sections. The first half will be my spoiler-free thoughts, while the second is a more in-depth critique full of spoilers, so you have been warned. To start things off, I want to talk about Superman himself, played by David Corenswet. He is absolutely fantastic. Everything from his looks, to his dialogue, and even his mannerisms are spot on. Superman in this movie is exactly how he should be. He's funny, and he radiates this kindness and warmth that the character should. I love the little moments where you can see him go out of his way to save someone no matter what else is going on. He embodies this character so perfectly that when I was watching the movie it never felt like a performance, it just felt like I was watching Superman. Now, this might be a little crazy to say since he's only played him in one movie, but I genuinely could see this going down as one of the best comic book movie castings of all time. He's that good in this. But it's not just Cornswet giving a great performance. Quite literally, everyone is. Every single character in this movie is played so well, and they feel like you ripped the characters straight from the comics and put them on screen. While everyone is amazing, the standouts for me personally are Lois, Jimmy, Mr. Terrific, Lex, and Guy Gardner. Starting with Lois, she's amazing in this. Rachel Brosnahan plays her so well, and I feel like more often than not, Lois is just kind of simplified to be Superman's girlfriend, whereas in this she's an actual character with things to do and personality traits. She's actually really funny, and her relationship with Clark is handled really well in this. Next, I want to talk about the members of the Justice Gang, starting with Mr. Terrific. Eddie Gathegi is perfect in this role. He is great both visually and as a character. And I love how he actually has a personality in this, because it's way too common nowadays for movies to just portray the smart character as dull and disconnected, but not him. Any scene with him is a blast, and I really do hope we get some more stuff with him in it. Hawkgirl is great in this movie as well. Fortunately, she doesn't get much to do. However, I do really like what we got with her. Maybe we'll see more in Peacemaker Season 2, but we'll just have to wait. But another character who's going to be in Peacemaker is Nathan Fillion's Guy Gardner. And I just have to say, what a surprise he was for me. Admittedly, I'm not a Guy Gardner fan. However, I loved him in this movie. He's so stupid, and I love how no one takes him seriously. He's super funny, and finally seeing a Green Lantern in live action after over a decade is great. He was one of my favorite parts of the movie, and I absolutely cannot wait to see more of him. Other characters in this movie, such as Metamorpho and the Engineer, are cool. I just don't have much to say. However, the standout in this movie for me is undoubtedly Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. Now I'll be honest, while I am a pretty big fan of Hoult as an actor, I was a little confused when it got announced that he'd be playing Lex. However, with every trailer, clip, or photo released, I was sold on him more and more, and I just have to say, he is perfect. Lex steals any and every scene he's in and is so fun to watch. The man is motivated by pure hatred and jealousy, and you can just tell. I love villains with complex motivations, but sometimes it's nice to just see a villain who's simply a hater. Holt gives an all-time great performance, and you can tell he's just having a blast playing him. He has a speech towards the end of the movie that is so full of hate, I seriously believe it will go down as one of the best villain speeches in cinema. He's seriously so amazing, I could just go on about him all day. So the characters are great, but what about the rest of the movie? Well, it's also amazing. This is a James Gunn movie through and through, so if you like his works, chances are you're gonna like this. However, I think this has set not only a new bar for him, but comic book movies in general. Everything from the look of the movie to the fights feel like a comic in the best way possible. I love the colors, the world feels so unique and full of life, and I'm glad that it feels so fantastical since I'm honestly tired of superhero movies just taking place in a world that's indistinguishable from our own. I just can't wait to see more of it. The cinematography is also great. The fight scenes are shot in a really cool way, and they're so unique. Like I said, it feels like a comic come to life. They stand out in a genre that's gotten kinda stale in recent years. There are so many shots I wish I could just frame on my wall because they're that beautiful. However, another beautiful thing in this movie is the score. This film's soundtrack is gorgeous. I remember seeing the trailer for the first time, hearing that theme play, and feeling a rush of joy. And there are at least 5 other tracks in the movie that elicit that same feeling. Specifically though, the track Look Up. In my opinion, it's up there with The Batman as the best modern superhero themes. I could seriously keep going and just praise everything about this film, however I do admittedly have some problems. Now, I have a couple minor complaints and then one big one. However, the big one delves into spoilers, so I'll save that for later. As for the others, I brought it up earlier, but I do wish Hawkgirl got more to do in the movie. She gets good scenes and I do like her, however, the other Justice Gang members get at least one scene where they just truly shine. And she gets a scene like that, but it's not nearly as good as the other two's. My other minor complaints are that the CGI can be a bit wonky sometimes, and I wish we got more scenes with Ma and Pa Kent. They're both amazing in the movie, but don't really get enough time to make as big of an impact as they should. I'm gonna go ahead and get into spoilers now though, so if you don't want to be spoiled, go ahead and skip to the timestamp on screen. My main problem with this movie is just that there's so much going on that some scenes and ideas don't get enough focus and time to really flesh out or fully develop their ideas. For example, in the beginning we get told through text on screen that Superman has been a hero for about 3 years, and he just lost his first fight. Now, I thought the movie was gonna start
in medias res
and flash back to the fight and show us what happened, but it doesn't, and we just go from there. That was his first loss, and I wanted to see his reaction to it since that could have told us more about him. That's the main example that I can think of, but there are more moments like that, where I think they should have just taken a moment to slow down and let the scene breathe instead of just rushing to the next. I've seen other people complain about the movie's pacing, saying that you feel every minute in the 2-hour runtime, but I honestly disagree and I wish it was a tad longer. The movie is not only introducing us to this Superman, but this world as well, and I think maybe even as little as 10 minutes could have helped greatly. That's my main complaint, and the only big problem I think this movie has. While I'm talking about spoilers, I'm just gonna go ahead and add to my positives from before. I love how absurd this movie is. Like I said before, this movie feels like a comic, and part of that is just how fantastical it is. I mean, Lex Luthor literally created his own pocket dimension, and it's just mentioned in passing. And I like that. I like that characters aren't grinding a movie to a halt in order to make a joke about how insane everything is. Lastly, I have to talk about the ending. First off, Superman's speech about how he's a human is so beautiful and really encompasses who he is as a character. And then later on, when Superman is in the Fortress of Solitude in his chair with the pictures of the Kents all around him, it's such a beautiful moment and a really nice way to send off the movie. That's really all I have to say. I could keep on going forever with praise for this movie, but I'll wrap the video up here. Overall, Superman is amazing, and a new milestone for superhero films. I personally rate it a 9 out of 10, and I can't recommend it enough. Whether you're a fan of the character or not, I think this movie can be enjoyed by anyone who loves superheroes. But what are your thoughts on Superman? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, thank you for watching.